Good evening to you, dear viewers. It's exactly 6 p.m. Cairo local time. Now it's time for this English news bulletin coming to you out of Channel 2. This is Reem Tamer, and we begin this news bulletin with the political segment, kicking off with the headlines. President Sisi directs to boost strategic partnerships to lure investments in civil aviation. Egypt's new Senate elects Hassan al-Din officially as Speaker. And Foreign Minister Abdul Ati holds a joint press conference with Maldives' counterpart. Welcome back. The news in full. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received a phone call from Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, who congratulated the president for Egypt's efforts to reach a ceasefire agreement in Gaza Strip and the success of the peace summit in Sharm el-Sheikh. Also, during the call, President al-Sisi reviewed the outcomes of Sharm el-Sheikh summit and the intensive efforts implementation the first phase of U.S. President Donald Trump's plan to end the war in Gaza. President al-Sisi expressed his appreciation for the Malaysia's steadfast supporting stances for the Palestinian question in accordance with international measures, as well as Egypt's intention to host the international conference for the reconstruction in Gaza. The call also tackled means of enhancing bilateral relation between Egypt and Malaysia in various fields. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met on Saturday with Robert Maersk Ogla, chairman of AP Moller Maersk in Cairo, to discuss the company's ongoing projects in Egypt's future cooperation with the Suez Canal Authority. During the meeting, both sides reviewed Egypt's role as a regional base for Maersk's operations in container trade and clean energy. The meeting was attended by Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, Suez Canal Authority Chairman Osama Rabia, and Maersk Regional Representative Hani The president welcomed Maersk's green fuel initiatives and expansion at East Port Said, describing them as part of Egypt's broader strategy to become a hub for energy and maritime services. For his part, Ogla expressed his appreciation for Egypt's support of Maersk's growth, confirming his commitment to deeper cooperation with the Suez Canal Authority, noting that the canal's infrastructure efficiency and value in global supply chain. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met with Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, Minister of Civil Aviation Sameh al-Hifni, Presidential Advisor for Urban Planning Amir Sayed, and Presidential Advisor for Financial Affairs Ahmed al-Shazli. Presidential spokesperson Mohammed al-Shenawi said the President was briefed on the implementation progress of the Terminal 4 project at the Cairo International Airport, considered one of the strategic projects aimed at enhancing service quality and strengthening the airport's infrastructure. The Civil Aviation Minister noted that the new terminal's capacity will be no less than 30 million passengers, which will raise the total capacity of the airport to over than 60 million passengers annually. President al-Sisi highlighted the importance of basing the project on an advanced operational system, incorporating the latest research and development outcomes to ensure the creation of smart and sustainable environment that meets global standards. The Senate held on Saturday its opening session of its first regular round of second legislative term following the completion of the Council's formation. During this session, a Senate member, Councillor Assam al-Din Farid, was elected Speaker of the Senate for the next 5 years, marking the second legislative term. Ahmed al-Awadi and Faris Saad were also elected for Deputy Speakers posts during the session. The session witnessed the swearing-in of the Council's 300 members, including 100 appointed by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Foreign Minister Abdulati held a joint press conference with Maldives' counterpart. Addressing the press conference, Abdulati said that talks tackled boosting joint cooperation in different fields. He said they discussed trade, food security, industry, education, cultural fields, and Al-Azhar role in Maldives. Also, Abdulati added that the meeting discussed establishing joint airlines between Egypt and Maldives. Regarding Gaza, Foreign Minister Abdulati said that preparations are underway for Gaza Early Recovery and Reconstruction Conference in November. Meanwhile, Foreign Minister stressed that Egypt is working on reaching a humanitarian truce to stop violence in Sudan, stressing Egypt's support to Sudanese state institutions. For his part, Maldives' Foreign Minister said that today's meeting is important for boosting relations with Egypt. He added that both sides agreed on measures for climate change and supporting international candidacy in international forums. Health Ministry in Gaza Strip announced that Israel returned the bodies of 15 Palestinians to the Strip. The ministry said that the total number of bodies delivered by Israel reached 135 bodies. It added that some bodies show the marks of beating. It also pointed that the identities of only 7 martyrs were identified. His family has been notified. Margaret is the 10th returned hostage body since the ceasefire went into effect over a week ago. Hamas handed over an 11th body this week. UNRWA said that Israel will not allow it to enter humanitarian aid into Gaza Strip. Hamas had urged mediators to increase the flow of aid into Gaza. The flow of aid remains constrained because of continued closures of crossings and restrictions on aid groups. More details in the next report.
The UNRWA said that Israel will not allow it to enter humanitarian aid into Gaza Strip. It added that it has a complete plan to face the humanitarian situation in Gaza Strip after the damages left by Israeli aggression. Hamas had urged mediators to increase the flow of aid into Gaza, expedite the opening of the Rafah border crossing with Egypt, and start reconstruction of the battered territory. The flow of aid remains constrained because of continued closures of crossings and restrictions on aid groups. United Nations data shows 339 trucks have been afforded for distribution in Gaza since the ceasefire began a week ago. Under the agreement, some 600 humanitarian aid trucks would be allowed to enter each day. Gaza's more than 2 million people are hoping the ceasefire will bring relief from the humanitarian disaster caused by Israel's offensive. Throughout the war, Israel restricted aid entry to Gaza, sometimes halting it altogether. Famine was declared in Gaza City, and the United Nations says it has verified more than 400 people who died of malnutrition-related causes, including more than 100 children. Israel's campaign in Gaza has killed nearly 68,000 Palestinians, according to the health ministry. Thousands more people are missing, according to the Red Cross.
The 12th convoy of the National Alliance for Civil Development Work is preparing for entering into Gaza Strip. The convoy is carrying food, medical aid and sheltering materials. The Egyptian Red Crescent has launched the 52nd convoy Zaid al-Izza from Egypt to Gaza. The convoy carried over 4,000 tons of urgent humanitarian aid that included over 700 tons of medical and relief aid needed in the Strip. Iran said on Saturday that it was no longer bound by restrictions on its nuclear program as a landmark 10-year deal between it and world powers expired, though Tehran reiterated its commitment to diplomacy. The 2015 deal, signed in Vienna by Iran, China, Britain, France, Germany, Russia and the United States, saw the lifting of international sanctions against the Islamic Republic in exchange for restrictions on its nuclear program. Iran's foreign ministry said in a statement on the day of the pact's expiration that from now on, all of the provisions, including the restrictions on the Iranian nuclear program and the related mechanisms, are considered terminated. A high-level delegation from Afghanistan left for peace talks with Pakistan on Saturday in Doha after the countries extended the ceasefire to their fierce border clashes. A Pakistani delegation was ready in the Qatari capital on Friday for the talks and was to be joined by more senior officials. Pakistan and Afghanistan on Friday extended the 48-hour truce for the duration of the Doha talks as they seek to resolve the clashes that killed dozens and wounded hundreds over the past week in the worst violence between the two South Asian nations since the Taliban seized power in Kabul in 2021. Russian installed governor said on Saturday that 2 people have been killed in a Ukrainian drone attack on a Russian-occupied part of Kherson region in southern Ukraine. He added that both victims lived in a temporary accommodation center for evacuees. Earlier, regional governor said on Saturday that 3 people were killed and 5 injured in a blast at the Avant-Garde explosives plant in the city of Ster-Letamak. The explosion at the plant occurred on Friday evening, and forensic experts are investigating the cause of the blast, denying that it was caused by Ukrainian drone strikes. In the world of business and finance, Minister of Finance Ahmed Kushuk stated that Egypt looks forward to strengthening the contributions and investments of U.S. companies in the Egyptian economy and improving economic indicators. In his remarks at the American Chamber of Commerce on the sidelines of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank annual meetings in Washington, the minister noted that the Egyptian economy is growing at a steady and encouraging pace with robust and diverse private sector activity taking place in an increasingly competitive business environment. Also, he highlighted that the completion of a series of economic and fiscal reforms, along with the tax and customs facilitations, aimed at attracting more private investments. He emphasized Egypt's continued commitment to building trust and partnership with business community by adopting practical, flexible, and effective approaches to address tax-related challenges. Minister of Planning, Economic Development and International Cooperation and Egypt's governor at the World Bank, Rania Al-Mashat, met with Managing Director of the International Finance Corporation, Makhtar Diop, to discuss enhancing joint efforts between the Egyptian government and the IFC. The discussions focused on empowering the private sector and expanding access to innovative financing mechanisms for both local and foreign companies. The meeting took place on the sidelines of the 2025 annual meetings of the World Bank Group and the International Monetary Fund in Washington. Al-Mashat stated that the meeting addressed developments in both regional and international economies, particularly in light of historic peace agreements signed by Egypt, US, Qatar and Turkey in Sharm el-Sheikh, along with stopping the war in Gaza and its positive impact on the regional stability and the Egyptian economy. By that, we reached the end of this English News Bulletin. Came to you out of Channel 2. That was Reem Tamer. Now it's time to say many thanks for watching.